get to see what this guide coat's all about as well. So I'm just steadying the bumper with one hand, guys, and then I'm going to start blocking with the other. You can see I'm just going to start working it in that crossways motion, and then we'll come back the other way a little bit. I like to kind of switch up the direction quite frequently. I find that I get the best results that way, and it's just how I've learned to do it over the years. Some of you might find, you know, you can do a few more passes one way and then switch to another way. You will find your own technique. If this is something you are learning or you're interested in learning, you're going to find those techniques and methods that work best for you. And ultimately, as long as we all get to the same end result, that's all that matters. So you'll see now, we'll just stop for a second. So the area where there's most filler is here. That's why that guide coat's disappearing first. You'll see that's a slight low spot, but there's plenty of filler in there, so we'll block that out. And then you can sort of see now, as we work down here, this is low compared to this. So we'll basically take the filler out of here, and then when we've got it sort of all down to the same level, you'll see this guide coat going as well, and then we'll just sharpen up the line. As you can see then, guys, that there, our level's absolutely perfect already. So there's just a little bit of tidying up to do around the edges, sharpen up that swage line at the top, so we just have to move it up a little bit there. And then it's a bit hand sanding around the edges, a little bit 320 grit over that, and we're ready for primer. So I'll just tidy up those edges and we'll start getting it ready for primer. So just going to take a piece of 320 now, guys, and I'm just going to soften up those edges, just to make sure there's no rock hard lines on that filler or anything like that. And it just helps me get the right profile back, obviously around this sort of arch line here, because it isn't like a sharp line, it kind of rolls out slightly, so it just helps with that. It's little bits of attention to detail like this that will, you know, really kind of make that repair invisible, because slight sort of profile change in that line and you're going to see it from a mile off, even if you don't really know what you're looking for. So it's important just to, you know, pay attention to those small details, and it will make your repairs better without a doubt. So as you can see, we've got our line restored nicely now. Again, I'm just going to take 320 and just gently run over the top of that line. It was just a touch higher than I wanted it to be. Excellent, there we go. Same at the top edge there, and we'll just round that off nicely like it's supposed to be for the top of a bumper. Make sure our top corner profile's right. And again, I'm not going mad with this, I'm just using it just where necessary, just to tidy up those edges. That's it, that's got us. So it's time to get the DA back out now. We'll get rid of all these sort of 80 and 180 scratches with a 240 grit, feather that out, and then we'll get some primer on it. So you see, guys, what I've done with that 240 is just feathered out these paint edges now so that they appear more like a stain on the panel. Ideally, that's going to, you know, what that's going to do is mean anything we lay down over there now, that's going to be invisible. It's going to cover it and we can block that back out. If you've got hard edges, you're going to see a ripple or a line in that repair, or what we call mapping, which is where you see the old coats and old primers and things like that showing up through the paint. Can't always see through, but you can see the edges and the lines and the profiles of them, so it's really important that you feather out nicely. I'm going to go one step further again. I'm going to get a 500 grit over that now as well, just to make sure that's super smooth before we put primer on it. So there we go, that's 500 grit, and you can see it's feathered it back even more now. We've got more layers showing, so that's nice and soft now. I'm happy to put primer over that. And just to show you what I was doing, guys, I was using an interface pad with that 500 grit. So it's just a sponge foam pad that sticks on the DA, and the disc sticks to that, and it's just a 10mm interface pad. But what that means is for feathering out, it's brilliant, and it flows around those curves nicely, doesn't give you any nasty sanding marks or pigtails or anything like that. So absolutely ideal for feathering out. Right, I'm going to clean this up now, give it a little bit of a scotch around the area, and get it masked up for primer. Before we mask up for primer and get the primer on this panel, I'm going to use a little bit of Evercoat Express wipe on sealer. This stuff's really, really good. What it's designed to do is it helps fill in any sanding scratches if you've got any slightly deeper ones there. It seals the repair off as well, so you don't get any kind of chance of mapping around the filler or anything like that. And it also is really, really good for eliminating micro pinholes. So we'll just put a little bit on the cloth. You don't need a lot for a repair this size, it just needs a little blob like that, so it lasts absolutely ages. And then all we do is wipe it in right over that repair, make sure we cover it all. And you can see as it goes onto the panel there, it kind of creates like a barrier over the repair, and you just wipe it away until any of the swarf or residue is gone. And then what we'll show you is, if you get right close in on the filler there, any of those little dots were like microscopic little pinholes that you can't see. So that has filled all them now. So you would fill those with the 2-pack primer with enough coats, but what this does is it just gives you that extra layer of security to know that they're absolutely filled. We'll give that sort of half an hour to dry out with a little bit of heat, make sure it's all cooked out, and then when we go in with the primer, then we'll know we're going to have no issues with any of those pinholes blowing out or anything like that. So we'll give it half an hour and then we'll get it masked up for primer. So all cleaned down now, guys, our Evercoat's dried. So we're going to mask up for some primer. So what I'm going to do is just do a flip edge with this tape. So we just basically fold the edge over. It doesn't need to be anything pretty for primer, it's just got to be functional. And just pull it across our leg like that. What that does is, I'll show you when it's stuck on the panel how it works. So when you stick this down around your repair for primer, essentially what that flip edge allows it to do is, as you blow air under that repair, as you blow air under that tape, the flip edge lifts and it creates a soft edge on the primer, instead of getting, if you was to put like that edge of the tape up against it and prime over that, you're going to get a rock hard edge that you don't want. So that's why I'm using the flip edge. So I'll get some paper around this now and we'll get some primer on.